Kathy Duva, the chairman of Main Events. I would say in the last couple of months, for sure, person in the center of the storm about the hottest heavyweight right now in United States, Adamek. How nice is to have such a commodity like Adamek in your stable?
It's of course wonderful, although I hate that word stable. He's in our group. You say in the middle of the storm, it's this really fun storm, and it has just been such a pleasure to work with him because every event is so exciting, and he has such a sweetheart that it just makes my day every day that I see him.
Adamek is a guy who has 2 championship titles, 175, 200. Is a cruiserweight. He was undisputed the best fighter in the world. Now he's trying to do something which never been done, to win 3 consecutive titles in the heaviest division, light heavyweight, cruiserweight, and heavyweight. But some people wanted to just, I would say, fans. Let's not use they want to push him as much as possible to fight the Klitschkos. Now, what's your opinion? What's the best possible fight for Adamek now? I'm not talking about best possible to do it, but if you can say it, I want to fight X. Who will be the X?
You know, I guess if we could fight David Haye first, it would be better, because I think that Haye and Adamek, frankly, is the most competitive heavyweight fight that I can imagine on paper going in. They both have styles where they don't tend to take a step back. It would be just one amazing, fan-friendly, exciting fight. Also, the winner of that fight, later fighting one of the Klitschkos, would certainly be a bigger fight, because obviously, everybody has been talking about Tomas fighting one of the Klitschkos now since actually before he went up to heavyweight. The first time he was offered a fight with one of the Klitschkos was before he had fought Andrew Golota. And, we've been consistently turning them down because they're not offering simply enough money. Aside from being ready, when he's ready is going to be when they offer enough money, because he is half the equation. They are barely known in the United States anymore. He's a huge star here. He has, a huge fan following, and he brings an awful lot to the table. So our plan has always been, take your time, move yourself up, fight the heavyweight fights, fight bigger guys, get used to it, get used to the change in the style. Obviously, he can't go in and brawl with someone twice his size the way he could with some of the smaller fighters that he fought as a light heavyweight and even as a cruiserweight. But in the end, the real goal here is at the same time to market him and get him to the point where when we get into a fight with Klitschko in the future, he's going to be compensated fairly, far more than the people that are fighting him now.
The most important people from HBO are standing tough behind you, behind Adamek, Ross Greenberg, not once, not twice, but many times repeated. They want to show the fight with brothers Klitschko, David Haye, and Adamek, nobody else. Tomek also is saying it's not about money with me, because if it will be about money, I could take Klitschko's offer a long time ago, even the last year. And you mentioned the marketing of Adamek. He's fighting 4 times a year. I read your recent interview when you said you would like for him maybe to have a longer break, but he wants to do it, and Roger wants to do it. When it comes to make the decision about what's next, who has a decisive voice? It's like a committee, it's like let's draw the straws, how this thing works?
No, in the end, Tomas has the decision. He's the guy who gets in the ring. He's the guy who has to fight the fights. When we talk about money, that's my job. My job is to get the most money possible for the least risk. That's what the promoter does. In the end, if he said to me tomorrow, get me the Klitschko fight right now, I'd have to do it. But
is it doable? Maybe not tomorrow, but
it's doable. But again, I don't think it's a fair compensation for him, and he'll be the mandatory in a few months, and we'll be in a very strong position to bargain. So it would be foolish to just take anything they offered right now, when in a few months he will be in a much stronger position to get a lot more money.
So in the end, everything comes to Adamek anyway. So why hurry right now?
Of course. But we advise him, and we know the business side of it, and Hopefully he takes our advice, but in the end, he's the guy who has to get in the ring and fight.
We spoke a couple of weeks ago, and you mentioned the contrary to the popular opinion. I have to ask the questions about popular opinion. It's more questions from the Klitschko brothers are coming from Vladimir's side of the K2 to fight Tomek Adamek and Vitaly. Could you confirm this?
Well,
it's more likely.
He'll be the mandatory for Vladimir by June, I believe.
By July?
June or July, yeah, whatever. I'm not sure the date, but he's in line to be his mandatory, so that's why.
So, is it possible? Is it doable? I know you hate, and I also do hate to ask about 6 months in advance in boxing. You know, things can happen in a span of a days. Is it possible to do it?
Oh, anything's possible. But
let's say, from a scale of 1 to 10, possibility.
I'm not going to commit like that because there are so many possibilities. There are 2 Klitschkos. There is David Haye. There are so many variables in there. All I can say for sure is that both the IBF, no, it's not right. The WBO will make him the mandatory by this summer. The IBF,
Tomek Adamek will be mandatory
in the WBO. The IBF wants to have a box-off, and there's talk about whether or not Tomas will participate in that. If he does and he wins it, then it will be the mandatory also for the IBF. That gives us more leverage. From my perspective, the business side of it, that's what I need. The more leverage we have, the better deal we can make.
And we are talking about everything right now, so I have to ask you, I know you are not the big fan of possible, and I will underline this 7 times, possible Roy Jones Jr. event with Tomek Adamek.
Again, Tomas is the guy who gets in the ring and fights. I advise on the business. It's not my advice to take that fight, but we will make our decisions together. We're like a family. Sometimes we don't agree, but in the end, we always come together.
The reason why I asked about Roy Jones Jr. is you mentioned a very interesting fact about becoming a mandatory and possible fight in July or June. If the
you become the mandatory in June or July, the fight probably wouldn't happen until a few months later.
So still, there is some time, and this is what Roger Blood was advising, for Tomek to fight somebody else before he fights Klitschko's or Haye.
Well, if he decides to participate in the IBF tournament, he'll have to fight 2 more times.
Until the 2 more times?
Yes, to become the IBF man.
Do we know who will be in the tournament outside of Tomek?
Not yet. This is all being discussed, and I really don't want to get into this until the fight is over on Thursday, because we don't want to distract him. But these are among the considerations. There are lots of them.
I'm really sorry for asking about Vinny Madalon on the end of our interview.
Yes.
I know Vinny Madalon.
He can screw up all our plans.
Absolutely, and just like you did, I love this Rocky versus Rocky, and this is the fight like this. We all know what Vinny Madalon is all about. It's a full speed ahead.
He's going to want to draw Tomas into a slugfest and hope that he can.
And Tomek from time to time likes to do it too.
Yes, he does. I think everybody Tomas has fought has had a purpose.
Yeah.
In the last fight, for example, Michael Grant, it was pretty obvious what the purpose was. Get used to somebody much bigger. Chris Arreola gets used to somebody much heavier. The purpose, I think, of Vinny Madalon is let's see if you can not give in to that temptation to slug with him. Because he has to discipline himself like that if he's fighting people that are, twice his size. So it'll be interesting.
It will be just the 5th Tomek Adamek heavyweight fight. His trainer Roger Bloodwood mentioned the reason why he wants to prolong those, let's say, test fights before the ultimate test, the championship fight, is because Tomek fought most of his life as a 175. When you can take 1, 3, 4 punches around and still dominate, you cannot do this in heavyweight division. It's too much risk. From your experience being in boxing for so many years as you are, and the main events is, could you give me your grade for Tomek Adamek, how quick he can switch from let's slug a little bit and then fight technical, to being a very controlled, very precise heavyweight fighter?
Well, I'm a little concerned that when he's in there with someone smaller, he's just going to say, "Oh, what the hell," and do it. I personally believe that if it turned out that the Klitschko fight was tomorrow, that Tomas Adamek would go into the gym and learn what he needed to do and discipline himself and do everything he had to. I really do believe he has it within him to do it. But there are circumstances outside that pretty much are leading us to a place where having that fight immediately does not make the most sense business-wise. If he becomes the mandatory, for example, in the IBF and the WBO, we have more strength. If the IBF says you have to fight 2 more times to become the mandatory, then maybe he does. It seems to me that if he fights a heavyweight title fight, most likely it's going to be between September and the end of the year, 2011.
But now it's December 9, and Vinny Maddalone.
No time. And Vinny Maddalone can screw this up totally if he takes his focus off of Vinny Maddalone and thinks about all those things that are a year away.
Tomek and everybody around him repeats a very good mantra, which is every fight is the most important fight when you are as high as he is. You agree?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody comes with their A game. Vinny's throwing his fastball. We know that. This is the last.
And he was a pitcher. He told me today he was a pitcher. Yeah.
Yes, why I use the analogy. But I mean, he is everyone he fights. This is the biggest opportunity of their life, and that's the hardest thing. You know, in a weird way, he's sort of in the place the world champion is. Everybody's coming to take what you've got. Tomas is in that position because what he's got is. Rather than a world title, he's the guy who sells the tickets, who makes the money, who everybody's paying attention to. They know that if they can come in and derail him, they will be next in line to fight one of the Klitschkos. They may want to go in there and take that payday, whatever it may be, and go straight to that fight. A win over him is a ticket to the heavyweight title. And so he has to be more focused than the people that he's fighting. I'm sure he will be.
Kathy Duva, the toughest manager in boxing. Don't get misled with behind this smile. This is still very good and very tough businessman. Thank you very much, Kathy.
You're very welcome. Promoter, though, not my manager.
Thank you.